Hello students, here I am to continue with the topic interrelationships of hemichordata, urochordata and cephalochordata and their relations with other deuterostomes. So let's begin. First I had discussed one table which was a generalized table comparing all the three subphyla. Now we are going to compare the habit and habitat of all the three subphyla, and this is table 2. In this we have 11 points and we will take them one by one. Now first and foremost is the occurrence. Occurrence means where does the animals related to these subphyla they occur. They occur in the marine environment, all the three of them, as you can see in the first point. Occurrence is marine for all the three subphyla. Then comes the distribution. Distribution is worldwide for all the three, and the urochordata, they are present in Indian, Pacific and Caribbean seas, and cephalochordata are present in all the seas, means again it is worldwide, all seas, as the hemichordata. Third point, habitat. Habitat for hemichordata is marine shallow coastal waters of intertidal zones. Urochordata, marine shallow waters with rocky bottom, and cephalochordata, they are marine found in shallow waters with sandy bottoms. I had suggested that you should go through the full description of all the three animals before you are going through these tables. Like you should read the full of Balanoglossus, full Herdmania and full Branchiostoma, all the topics, and then you will compare them one by one. So if you are having a knowledge of their habit and habitat, then you will be clearly understanding the habitat as it is written in urochordata, they are found in shallow waters with rocky bottom. And you know that urochordata, they are made up of test, and their body is divided into upper region consisting all the organs and lower region forming the foot. That foot attaches on a solid bottom, and so they are found in the rocky bottom, rocks. Cephalochordata, as you know their habit, they swim upright in upright condition, and whenever there is danger or they want to rest, they dig their head into the sand, and then in that hole they turn around, they take a U shape so that the head, it is suspended above the sand in the water and the lower part is in the burrow. So it is like this. Fourth point is mode of life. Mode of life is solitary for all the three. They can be found in single condition, and Balanoglossus is burrowing. It is nocturnal, active at night and sluggish, slow moving. Herdmania is solitary, attached to substratum by a broad base, as I explained it to you in the previous point, and they're diurnal and sluggish. Diurnal, active during the daytime and very slow. Cephalochordata is solitary, burrows in sand or free swimming, like you can find it swimming freely or in the burrow, and they're nocturnal. They are active during the night and they are very active. They are very fast. Fifth point is the burrow. Balanoglossus lives in a U-shaped burrow, and you must be remembering a U-shaped diagram in which there's a worm lying inside, and this burrow, it has two openings, and it is lined by sand particles and cemented together by mucus. Herdmania, it does not form burrows, it remains attached to the substratum. And Branchiostoma or Amphioxus, it mostly remains buried in sand with anterior end projecting above sand. Sixth point, food. Food of Balaenoglossus is microorganisms and organic particles in sand and water. And for Herdmania and Branchiostoma both, it is the planktonic microorganism. Planktonic means floating in the water, and it ingest it along with the water and extra water. It is drawn out through the pharynx and out through the body through the atriopore. The 7th point is the feeding habit. They are all macrophagous. Micro means small particles. Micro means small. Phagus means eating, the small particles. 8th point is mode of feeding. Ciliary, filter feeding as well as swallowing with mud. The feeding in Balaenoglossus is it is ciliary, means initiated by cilia. You know, the pharynx, it has many cilia, and when they move in such a manner that the water from the outside is pulled inside means it is pulled towards the pharynx. So it will come inside the body through the mouth and will enter the pharynx. And it is a filter feeding. When the water enters the mouth, it is filtered by some mechanism, and it is the feeding habit is also mode of feeding is also swallowing with mud. So along with the mud, it takes the feeding particles inside the body. In Herdmania, the mode of feeding is ciliary, filter feeding also by food cum respiratory water current passing through perforated pharyngeal sac. In Branchiostoma, ciliary, filter feeding by passing food-laden water current through perforated pharyngeal sac. So it's the same for both. The mode of feeding is exactly same for Herdmania and Branchiostoma. 9th point is water current. It enters branchial sac through mouth and goes outside directly through gill pores. For Herdmania, it enters branchial sac through mouth and goes out through atriopore, as I explained just now. And Amphioxus, it enters branchial sac through mouth, reaches atrial cavity through gill slits, and outside through atriopore. Here, the basic pattern is that the pharynx, it is the anterior part of the alimentary tract, and when water along with food enters into the pharynx has some mechanism of holding the particles inside, food particles, and driving the extra water through the gill slits to the outside of the pharynx. And the outside of the pharynx, the cavity is atrium, and this atrium, it opens out of the body through the atriopore. So the food caught in the water is first trapped in the pharynx, and then it is conveyed to the esophagus. And the extra water, it leaves the pharynx, it comes out of the pharynx and out of the body through atriopore. So it goes like this. Then the 10th point is protective device. Protective device is that whenever the animal is in danger, it has some means of protecting itself, and these are known as the protective devices. In Balaenoglossus, it is the secretion of a foul-smelling iodoform-like substance. One species is phosphorescent, the foul-smelling iodoform-like substance. So this phosphorescent means it is emitting a smell like phosphorus. In Herdmania, body is surrounded by gelatinous text, and in this text are lodged many pointed spicules which protect it from the enemies, due to which the enemies are not able to ingest or eat up Herdmania. In Branchiostoma, whenever it is in danger, it starts swimming very fast. We have read that it is very active. Its mode of life is very active. So the movement is jerky and very fast. So it is able to save itself due to this action. Then the last point is the reproduction. Reproduction is only sexual in all the three of them, all the three sapphila. In Balaenoglossus, sexes are separate, and it also has a power of regeneration. So you will see, whenever we examine a worm closely in the context of reproduction, so you will have male Balaenoglossus and female Balaenoglossus. Sexes separate means there are male Balaenoglossus and female Balaenoglossus separately. Then in Herdmania, sexes are united, male-female organs are present in the same animal, and some Herdmania, they also reproduce asexually by budding. Then in Branchiostoma, the sexes are separate and there is no asexual reproduction. So this finishes your habit and habitat. Next will come a table in which we will be comparing the alimentary canal and the associated organs. And as I told you, the foremost part of alimentary canal in these animals is pharynx. So we will be doing that also. So I have given you some diagrams over here. Diagrams, you will have to go through the text very properly so that you understand the structure of all the three animals. Here in this slide, I could adjust only two animals, and Balaenoglossus and Herdmania, and in the slide I have the diagram of Branchiostoma. This is the upper part. The upper diagram is the full view of the alimentary canal of Amphioxus, and the lower part is the foremost region of the alimentary canal, and due to its complexity it is enlarged and shown. All the organs are very clear. You can see whenever you go through the alimentary canal, then this diagram is very helpful in understanding the foremost part of the alimentary canal. So here comes the table which is showing the comparison of alimentary canal and associated glands. This is also having 14 points. So let's start with the first one, the alimentary canal. In Hemichordata, the alimentary canal is complete. In all the three of them it is complete, and in Balaenoglossus it is complete straight narrow canal from mouth to anus. In Herdmania it is complete curved canal with intestinal loop, and in obviously it has to be curved because Herdmania, you see, if you visualize the animal, it is a bag-like structure, so there is no space for the alimentary canal to go straight. It has to get curved. Then in Branchiostoma, the alimentary canal is complete straight because it's a long animal, and from mouth to anus. Second is the mouth opening. In Balaenoglossus, it's wide, circular, permanently open, situated mid-ventrally between proboscis and collar. The collar actually is the lower, it's situated on the region, we can say on the lower edge of the mouth. The upper edge it is covered by the proboscis on the top, on the dorsal side, and the collar is present on the ventral lower side of the mouth. In Herdmania, the mouth opening is four-sided branchial opening bordered by four lips situated on branchial siphon. In Branchiostoma, it is a wide anteroventral opening bordered by free margin of oral hood and buccal cirri, as you can very clearly see in the diagram. I told you it is a complex structure in Amphioxus, and the diagram is showing it very, very clearly. The buccal, third point is the buccal cavity. In Balaenoglossus, it is short and it is without tentacles. In Herdmania, it is a cavity of branchial siphon with a circlet of branchial tentacles. In Amphioxus, it is spacious vestibule of oral hood containing wheel organ. Fourth point is pharynx. In Balanoglossus, it is divided by lateral parabranchial ridges into dorsal branchial portion with gill slits and a ventral digestive portion. Urochordata, it is divided by two ciliated peribranchial ridges into an anterior small prebranchial region and a large posterior branchial sac with gill slits. And in Amphioxus, it is a lateral oblique ciliated peripharyngeal bands demarcate. In it, the lateral oblique ciliated peripharyngeal bands demarcate a small anterodorsal prebranchial region from large posterior branchial sac. Fifth point is velum. It is absent in hemichordata and urochordata, and in Amphioxus or Branchiostoma, it is present between vestibule and pharynx with velar tentacles. It is a circular disc-like structure with an opening in the center, which is the enterostome. Some scientists called it a mouth, but then mouth has to lead in a cavity which is lined by ectoderm, and the vestibule is lined by endoderm. So it is not a mouth, it is a enterostome opening. Sixth is endostyle. It is absent in Balanoglossus and present both in Herdmania and Branchiostoma. In Herdmania, extends mid-ventrally along floor of pharynx, and same it is in the Amphioxus, similar to Herdmania. Then seventh is hyperpharyngeal groove or band, absent in Balanoglossus, and in Herdmania, dorsal lamina present with tongue-like processes or languids, and in Amphioxus, ciliated groove present without processes. Eighth point is gill slits. In Balanoglossus, dorsolateral U-shaped gill slits open into branchial sacs, which open externally through gill pores. In Herdmania, about 2 lakh gill slits open into atrial cavity, and in Amphioxus, 150 to 200 pairs of gill slits open into atrial cavity. Ninth point is stomach. It is in Balanoglossus, it is not demarcated clearly from intestine. In Herdmania, it is demarcated from intestine and sphinctered at both the ends. And in Amphioxus, stomach or midgut not demarcated from intestine. Not demarcated means it's a tube-like structure. The anterior part forms the stomach, and it continues. It gradually narrows and directly continues into the intestine. There is no difference. There's no. We cannot draw a line that the stomach is still here and then the intestine is starting. It is a kind of continuous structure. 10th point is intestine. Intestine in Balanoglossus is a straight tube, anterior or hepatic region sacculated, forming hepatic ceca. In Herdmania, it forms a loop, and it is a U-shaped tube enclosing the left gonad. And ileocolic ring is absent. Amphioxus, it forms a straight tube internally ciliated containing lateral ciliary tract and ileocolic ring. 11th point is rectum. It is not differentiated in Balanoglossus. In Herdmania, it differentiated and it is internally ciliated. In Amphioxus, it is demarcated and heavily ciliated. 12th point is anus. Intestine opens at the tip of trunk by a sphinctered circular anal opening. In Herdmania, rectum curves dorsally to open into cloaca by anus bordered by 4 lips. As you know the structure, there are 2 siphons and both are directed upwards. They are placed kind of on the dorsal side. In Amphioxus, it is a small circular sphinctered aperture opening at the base of caudal fin to outside. 13. Atrial cavity. It is absent in Balanoglossus and present in both the other phyla. Gills in Herdmania, gill slits and anus open into atrial cavity, leading to exterior through atrial opening, bordered by 4 lips and situated on atrial siphon. In Amphioxus, gill slits open into atrial cavity, leading outside through atriopore. Anus does not open into atrial cavity. Last point is the digestive glands, the 14th point. Balanoglossus, there are no definite glands present. We cannot see any glands as such. In Herdmania, liver is composed of 2 lobes, right and left. Left lobe is bigger and right lobe is smaller. Besides a branching pyloric gland in the wall of stomach. It obviously cannot be seen because it is hidden in the stomach. It forms a kind of network in the wall of the stomach. Besides a branching pyloric gland in wall of stomach, and intestine is supposed to be digestive as well as excretory. And in Amphioxus or Branchiostoma, midgut diverticulum is said to function as liver. Pyloric gland is absent. So this finishes your comparison of alimentary canal and associated glands. Thank you, and we will continue this. We will take 2 more tables, and yeah, I think you remember my advice. You have to go through all the 3 animal structure very well before you are referring these tables. You will understand these tables only if you study the structure of all the 3 animals properly. Then you will not have to cram the tables. You will automatically understand them and remember them well. Thank you. Keep reading and wait for my next lecture.